Hello everyone, this is the introduction to the tutorial for making this little mini. I have a video walkthrough of this so you can see what you're making. I'll leave a link in the description to that video. I will have lists for materials on my blog and I'll leave a link there in the description. Make sure you watch the whole video through once before you start so you can see where things are going and you won't get stuck with any misunderstanding of what's going to happen next. Pause, rewind, fast forward this video so you can fully understand what you need to do. And of course, ask me any questions that you need to ask. So, on with the tutorial. Okay, we'll start assembling the cover. You need a 9 1/4 by 7 1/4. You need 4 pieces of chipboard cut to that size. I use 52 point chipboard from Paper Accents. It's heavy duty and that's the way I like it. And you also need a 1 1/2 by 8 3/4. You need 2 pieces of Tyvek cut to that size. I get my Tyvek from envelopes. I just buy them at either online at eBay or on an office supply store, and I cut it up into the sizes I need. And then this is my glue of choice. It's acid-free white glue. And so you take 1 piece of your 9 by 7 inch size, and let's put this right like this, not on the edge, so that we can see how far down to go. Like, you don't want to go beyond it because the paper won't cover it. The Tyvek won't cover it. I get my glue going and run a line of glue close to the edge. When you start squishing it down, it will move over. Maybe about 2. Put about 2 lines. Because we're trying to get this glue to get into the fibers of the Tyvek. It's one of the reasons I like to use glue. And I went over about 1/2 inch, and I like to use a brayer to make sure that the glue squishes all the way down and into that Tyvek good. You can use a bone folder as well. Like this. And then I'll take the spine, 2 inch spine, put glue on that. Right on the edge. Two lines at least. Now we're going to put this, and we're going to make it 3/8 of an inch away from the cover. The spine edge, 3/8 of an inch away from the cover edge. I like 3/8 because then sometimes I put a bulky fabric or something on the spine as a decoration. And the bulkier you get with between your spine and your cover, when you're opening and closing, it gets harder to work with, and sometimes your spine won't close. So that's why I just decided to standardly do 3/8, because I'm covered. I never have that issue. You have to check the top and the bottom. and the glue makes it easy to move. Just keep doing it till you get your 3/8 inch space. That's good. And that's good. So now I'll put glue on this side of the spine. Put my Tyvek on again. I just make sure that it's the same distance from the top and bottom. Smooth it out, the glue. And now we're going to use another cover piece and do the same thing again. Three-eighths of an inch at the top. There. Now I just take the other 3 pieces and glue them directly over the first 3 pieces, like that. Matching them up perfectly. And continue on with the next. And the last piece, same thing, line it up. So you have all 3 pieces doubled up. Sorry, I was a little close for those last segments, but this is the way you want your cover to look in the end. Your pieces all lined up, so you have a really nice heavy-duty cover. Put that aside and let it dry. Okay, the first pieces of paper you'll need is a 9 by 7 inch piece, a 10 by 5.5 inch piece that has been punched on one 10-inch side. You don't have to punch it, that's optional. And 2 1/2-inch score lines on the 5.5-inch sides. See, score line, score line. Two 4¼ by 5.5-inch pieces. 1 8-inch by 6-inch piece. 1 4.5 by 6.5-inch piece. 1 5.5 by 8-inch piece. 1 5 by 7-inch piece that has been punched on one 7-inch side, that's optional, and scored 1/2 inch on both 5-inch sides, and 1 6.5 by 9-inch piece that has been scored in 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch, so that 1/4 inch, and 1/2 inch, so that you end up with something like this. Okay, we'll take the 9 by 7 inch piece, and we're going to put this on this edge. And we're going to put glue up to the first score line, so only on the 1/4 inch piece. Can you see it? Then we're going to lay this piece on top of the glue up to that score line, making sure it's just right up to the score line. A little heavy with my glue. Try to go a little lighter and you won't get as much seepage. So that you glue it on like that. Can you see? Okay. Now we're going to put this 10 by 5.5 inch piece that has been scored 1/2 inch on both 5.5 inch sides. We're going to put it on like this. So I'm going to put glue on this flap and here. And on this flap. And I'm going to put that, but the bottom with the flap underneath to the bottom of the paper. And the flap on top, like this, pushing down till the glue catches. So you have a pocket. Next, we're going to take this 5 by 7 inch piece that has been scored 1/2 inch on 2 1/2 inch sides, and we're going to make another pocket on this side. So we'll put glue the same way on this flap, along the bottom, and on this flap. Matching it. You don't want to go over the score line here, because that will get in the way of closing this. And another pocket. Pieces you're going to put inside. Okay, before we put patterned paper on, we're going to put ribbon on. Cut a length of ribbon about 12 inches, 2 pieces about 12 inches long. And we're going to find the middle, which is 1/2 of 9 is 4.5. So we put the ribbon like this, turn it over, match it up, and put your other ribbon like this. Okay, we'll let that dry. before we put patterned paper on. And we'll move on to the second half. So you need a 9 by 7 inch piece, base page, 8.5 by 6.5 inch piece, 6 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces that are 6.5 by 5 inches, all of them scored 1/2 inch on one 6.5 inch side. And you want to bend them. You want to bend them all at the score in a minute. You want a piece that is 3 by 7.5, optional to punch one side, that have been scored on both 3-inch sides. One piece that is 5.5 by 6.5, that has been scored in 1/2 inch and 1 inch on one 6.5 inch side, like this, and like this. And one piece that is 6 inches, and one piece that is 6 inches by 6.5 inches, scored in 1/2 inch and 1 inch on one 6.5 inch side. Like this. These will go together like this. So we're going to put this aside, and we're going to glue the 5.5 by 6.5 inch piece. We're going to put glue on the 1/2 inch space before the first score line. Your 8.5 by 6.5 inch piece goes on top right up to the score line. That's the top of the waterfall cover. And this piece is the bottom. It's the 6.5. It's the 6 by 6.5 inch piece, which has been scored 1/2 inch and 1 inch. So it looks like this. We're going to put that on the bottom. So that now it will look like this. So one more thing we're going to do before we put patterned paper on here is put ribbon as a closure. I'm using ribbon this time instead of magnets, just to make this project easy for new beginners and easy to find the supplies. So we want to put it on like this. If you are experienced with magnets, you can put your magnets just like this so that it will hold together like this. But I'm going to take this ribbon and find the center. And find the center on the back. half of 6 1/2 is 3 1/4. So I'm just going to run some glue down the back at 3 1/4 to hold the ribbon. And because I'm working on paper here, because I try to keep the glare down, so I put this paper down. Usually I have a stone countertop and I don't worry about glue sticking, but I will put the plastic there because we can go on and work inside here. We want to put this pocket up here. 3 by 7 1/2, scored a 1/2 inch on both 3-inch sides, punched if you wanted. Put glue on the top part of this piece up to the first score line. And there's a pocket up here. Now doing it this way, you can punch this edge if you wish, or around the corners. I'm going to leave it plain for now. And the rest we have to wait till we get the pattern papers, because we'll put pattern paper on here and then we'll glue this on top of there, and we'll put pattern paper here and then we'll glue these on top of there. So now onto the pattern papers. Okay, I started putting pattern paper on, and when I put pattern paper on, I always cut it 1/4 inch smaller than the space I want to put it. So if this space is 6 1/2 by 9 inches, no, this space is 6 inches by 9 inches. So I cut this piece 8 3/4 by 5 3/4. And this comes from the same sheet of paper. I think it's up here, or it's up here. But I fussy cut that out so it can be put there. So just glue this piece on, and when you're using KaiserCraft paper, it's not as heavy as some brands of paper, so you want to go kind of light with the glue if you can. I still seem to manage to put it on kind of heavy, but I don't want you to worry. It sometimes does warp the paper while it's still wet, but it dries out flatter. And then when you want to put this on, just do 2 sides. Like this. And match it up so it fits, and then you'll have a tuck spot right there. And when you're cutting your pattern paper, start with the big pieces first. So like this is a big piece, so cut this piece of paper first, and then work down to the smaller pieces, and that way you'll be able to utilize your paper the best. Also for this page, I cut out 31 inches of this 1/2 inch gathered lace. I'm going to put it all around the edge like this, and to do that, just run a bead of glue close to the edge of the pattern paper and lay your lace down on top of it, and you want to hold it a bit before you go on to the next part. Because as you can see, it wants to move. So you want to hold it till it catches. Either that or put a weight on it to help. And then you can run another line of glue along the edge. Like this. Hold down this corner and sort of fold the corner. And again, you're going to have to hold it or weight it till it catches. And keep going. And when you're ready, just cut off the end. And that's pretty. Okay, so that's how I covered this page. I'm going to wait. So I'm going to wait before I mess around and let that dry. And on the back, take your piece of ribbon, just glue it on. Then glue your paper right over the top. I chose this, cut it from this sheet. And glue the other piece on the other side. And there, 4x6 photo mat with a pull tab. Covered this photo mat like this. The small one, this is one of the cutouts. I just shortened it so it would fit on here. And here's another piece from the bottom that I glued on there. Go in this pocket. That was covered like this. Has this piece. This is just a short piece left over from cutting a larger piece. That fits right in there. It doesn't go all the way down. It only goes about to here. And this page is done. Now we have our waterfall. And actually I'm going to start with the inside of the waterfall just so I can get this out of the way. This piece I fussy cut off of this. Actually, I first cut a piece from here to fit on this sheet to make sure I had enough of it, because this is how I covered the waterfall pages. This, like this, and here, here, here. So I had this piece left over, and I cut it purposely so that I could have this piece. I fussy cut this out. So now I'm going to simply cut a piece from this leftover to go here. Which is a 5 by 6.5 piece. I cut it 4 3/4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to glue it right on. And I'm going to put this right in this corner, and it'll be a little pocket tuck spot there. Just glue 2 sides. So sweet. So here is what I put on here. Here. Got 2 cutouts in the pocket, and I put a piece here. You can stick one of these down here in this pocket. And I'm going to put this piece on here. It's just going to be centered, and that'll be it. So just put glue on the back, around the edges, and in the middle. I'm just going to look at the edges, make sure this is straight. And evenly spaced on the top and the bottom. Push it down. And we can do the waterfall pieces. So I want this to be first, and then I just like to make sure I have the same pattern. So that this is what they'll look like. When it's all on there. So I'll take the first 2. The first one, I fold this down, and I've also folded all these so they're ready. They're bendable, folded in a straight line. But I'll take the first 2 and put the top one on like this, and fold this top one over the second one. Just put glue in this space. fold it over the top. So that it will open like that. And that's the one we'll put on first. And go down about 1/2 inch. Doesn't have to be perfect. I allowed so that there'll be space under here, but that's about the space. And put your glue on this edge between the fold lines. Just line it up so the edges match. And press it down till the glue catches. Then we'll take the next piece and we'll put it right up to there. Make sure it bends. And put glue on this space. Seeing it line up on the bottom. Sometimes you can get it under there a little, but just as long as you don't see a big line, but you want it up close as you can. And then I'll just go on to the next. And the next. And the last. And there it is. Waterfall. Lots of places to put pictures. And here's what I did on the front. Took a cutout. First I cut a piece of this pattern to fit up here, and I took a cutout and just cut it there. And I use this pattern to cover here, so you can tie this up. And it stays closed. Now, you want to make sure to seal your ends of your ribbon, and so I'll just cut it at an angle and take a flame of some sort and just run it on the edge so that it melts the fibers together and it won't fray. The same with the other one. Tie that one closed as well. And that's what they look like closed up. I'll go on to the cover. Now I got the Blue Fern Studios chipboard rocking chair, and all I'm going to do is paint it with some gesso. I like the uneven of just patting the paint on instead of brushing it. And I don't like it how it gets caught up in the crevices when you brush it on. And then this way you also don't get paint too much on the inner edge. So it still has an antique-y look because it's not put on heavy. If you want, you can go back over it again. And when it's dry, take some clear glue. I'm going to use some glossy accents. And just going to randomly put some on. Wherever you think you'd like some sparkle. And I've got some hot pink chunky glitter from Renee Bouquets. You can use any glitter, you can use clear. And I'm just going to sprinkle some like that on the glue. And I'm actually even going to use some diamond. And I have a mixed up concoction now. So now we have a sparkly pink essence of a rocking chair. And put that aside to dry. And we'll go on to working on the cover. Take 2 sheets of this paper. Look at that, how different the printing is. Colors. But we'll use this side, and you can either use tape or glue. And put some glue on one edge of the paper, and you want to just overlay it by 1/4 of an inch. It won't matter if you do a little more than 1/4 of an inch. You want to try to get it even so that you got the same amount on each side so that it will be straight. When you have it together, tip it over and put your cover on top. And you can't go by this for centering, you have to measure on the edges. So it's about 3 1/8. So even though this line may not be in the center of the spine, the paper is centered and it looks even on both sides. So I'm just going to put glue on the spine, sticking to the edges first, close to the edges. And then some in the middle, just enough to hold it against the spine so it doesn't pop up. And you know, hopefully you haven't moved your cover a lot. Make sure it's even. flip it over and find the indent where this spine meets the cover, and I'm just pushing the paper into it to make a dent. And then I'm going to just make sure it's tight on there. And I want a bone folder. I'm just going to push the paper into the edge of the spine, kind of creating a score line along the edge of the spine. Then I'm also going to do it on the other side into the edge of the cover. That just makes the paper stretch and go into that dent, and it makes a nice hinge. So when you have a dent, can you see it? Like that. When you have that dent, a nice dent in there, then I usually just lift up one side and we're going to glue it right to here, again staying close to the edge with the glue. Make sure that the dent is loose so there's a dip, the paper is in there. Don't let it flatten out. Just flatten the paper on top of your cover. And we'll do the other side the same way. Okay, flip it back over again. Get a pair of scissors. We're going to cut off this corner just so there's about 3/8 of an inch away from this corner. Just like that. And all 4 corners. And I'm going to put glue along the top edge right up against the chipboard. Stop. When the chipboard stops, and start again. Go all the way across. Then you want to get some little over on these corner edges over to the edge. Make sure there's some glue in there. Both sides. And some glue up here. I don't put glue in this area or this area. And then take your bone folder and go under the paper. You're going to work this paper up against the chipboard. Right here it will be a little different where that dent is. We're making it so it fits tight. And then we're going to pull it down over the top, and we'll concentrate on the middle first because we're going to stretch the paper in this area. making a dent again. And once you get that dent, go ahead and press the rest down. There. Now we want to do these corners. I'm just going to press in like I'm wrapping a present. So the back side is folded down like that, and you have a slope like this. Take my bone folder, and now you want to press against the chipboard, and you get a little tab like this. I'm going to push that down against the chipboard. And we'll do the other side. Little tab, push it down against the chipboard, making it tight and smooth. And we're going to do the same thing on this side, exactly the same way. There. Now, we're just going to put glue along the edge on this side. Pretty much the same idea, only this time you don't have to worry about the hinges. You don't want to get glue everywhere, just get it in the right places. If it does seep out, just brush it towards the inside. Looks good. We'll let the glue dry, because as you can see, when it's not quite ready, you get bumps and bulges. And actually I'm going to add some glue in there. This is a fine tip glue where I can get in behind places like this. You could also just use a toothpick or a pin and get your glue in there like that. If you don't have this glue. I did that before I had that glue, using toothpicks and pins to get in small spaces. Okay, I'm going to let that dry about 10 minutes. Okay, we're back, and now we can close it up, because we're just going to loosen up this hinge a bit by squishing it so the paper stays close to the edge. Bending it this way a little and this way a little. Then I'm going to bend it up by leaving that dent a little bit in there. Just trying to get the paper used to moving, stretching. See? Okay, that looks good. Upside down. Now, I hardly ever use the stickers in these because, you know, there's only one. I mean, I think I might use them more if there were two of them. And usually I add the sticker sheet, even if I've used some of it, in when I send out the album. Okay, so I've decided I will use this one on this album. I'm going to put it right down the middle, but not directly over the line because that's not in the middle. So I'm just going to eyeball it, make sure it's straight, and see how it does cover the line. And stick it on the spine just like this. It's pretty. And then I'll cover it. I think I'm going to use some glossy accents because I don't always trust the glue on the stickers. And we'll just pull these over tight against the edges. Okay, I cut the strips and punched one edge, and this is how I'm going to put them on. About a 1/4 inch away from the edge of the cover before it goes into the dent. And same on this side, which will be the back. So that means we want this one to go on about like this. That will be covered up by the lighter pink one. So I'm going to guesstimate that. Since the white one is underneath, we need to put that on first. So put glue. Put your glue on and then line the line up to the back side and make sure it's straight. You can check with a ruler if you want to. 6 1/2. Six and a half. And then we'll put the pink over the top. This is not necessary. I just think it makes it a little more interesting on the cover. And we'll do the other side same way. Fold them down over the top. And after your lace and ribbon are all dry and on there really well, turn it over, sparkles, and glue the ends down. This is all going to be covered. So that looks awesome. So while that's drying, we can work on this part. Need a piece of paper 9 inches by 6 inches. And I'm looking at where the spine is here, and doesn't have to be perfect, but trying to center it some. And so I like that. So as a guide, I'm going to draw a line over here. And I'm going to put glue on the spine. Close to the edge again. I'll put this down here. This is a guide to know how far down to put the glue. I only want to put the glue about a 1/4 inch up from the bottom of the cardstock. That way when I'm pushing on the top of the paper, the glue underneath won't seep out as far. And because we have no pages, we don't need as much glue as we do when we have pages in a book. So something like that. And where's my guide? And make sure it's even top and bottom and straight. And we're going to make the dent again. And I also use a fat pen that fits down in the dent just to stretch the paper in there. And I'm pushing against the edge of the cover now. So now it's in the dents and stretched so that it just will bend easy. And now I'm going to put glue up to the line there, right up to the edge here, making sure the paper stays down in the dent. Push down over here. Make sure your corners have some glue on them. Good. Other side. There. Now we'll let that dry about 15-20 minutes. Yay, we're almost done. Had time to set up, so I'm just easing it into where we want it to go. good. Looks so pretty. Now we can put the front inside cover and the back inside cover on. And all you have to do is put glue on the back. This is going right here. So put glue on the back. And put it on. Even and centered. Untie this so you can press down. And that lace is going to make it a bump there, so either you want weight to hold down the corners or clothespins, and make sure they're clothespins that are flat here to hold them down. Or the clothespin will make a dent in your paper. So the clothespins are nice because they make it so we can go on to glue the other side. Which is this. Same thing, glue on the back. Stick it inside and it will hold down your piece. Put as many clothespins on as you think you need. And we'll let that set 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, while I was waiting for this to dry, I went through all my scraps and things and found things to cut out, fussy cut out. And I cut out the crown and this baby from the music sheet, and it has this white piece here, so I found some roses to go over that, and it fits perfectly right there. I had to trim it a little with the crown on top. And this little baby here or somewhere. But go ahead and do that. I picked out this little bunny. So we can take these all off now. I think I'm going to glue this that I fussy cut out up here. And I'm going to put the roses on here. Just make sure you cut this small enough so it doesn't get in the way of the hinges. Trim a little bit off the edges. And you can fill up the whole space if you'd like. I'd like to put this bunny on here. Okay, but you get the idea. Fill it up the way you like. I'm not sure what else I want to do for right now. So I'm just going to move on to the cover. Now I cut out this cutout, which is 4 by 4. And so I made this 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and this is a piece of chipboard, also 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. I'm going to put that like that, and I have the rocking chair all ready to go. I'm going to put this like this, and the rocking chair like this. And I've got 2 flowers from Renee Bouquets. Something like that. And I thought I'd put this little bird up here. Actually, I like the simplicity of this for this time, so I just want to glue these all together. And I use the chipboard to make this sturdy and make it layer up. So now we have that on chipboard. So I'm going to put this about here. I have my glue gun all heated up. So I'm going to put a good amount of glue on here. And when I put it on, since this is going to make it higher, I'm going to press down here and let the glue fill in that space up there. And the same thing with the rocking chair, because right here it rests kind of a ways up. So, and we're going to be covered up with flowers, so we don't have to worry about it showing. But we do have to worry up here a little. And another thing that will happen is when we put the glue on for the flowers, that will also be a support. just there. And our little bird. I like it. So we did it. We finished the album. I also used this same design of album to make the Peon Designs To My Valentine album. I know some people were asking for a tutorial for that. Well, I didn't have more of those papers, but you can make this album look like that one by buying those papers. Use the same design over and over again, and it's a quick, easy, fast, fun project. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks so much for following along with me, and enjoy your mini.